Hello everyone. I wanted to continue on my legend series, and today I am giving one of the greatest personalities in cricket, the great Richie Benaud of Australia, who was also known as the voice of cricket as a commentator. He was born October 6th, 1930, in New South Wales, in Australia, and he played his domestic cricket for New South Wales. He played 63 test matches and he took 248 test wickets, which was the highest leading wicket taker as a leg spinner at that time. He was the most famous leg spinner at his times. And he also scored, and he had 16 5 wicket hauls and he had one 10 wicket haul in his test career. And he also scored more than around 2,200 runs, and he also scored three centuries in Test cricket. So he was like a bowling all-rounder. He was considered like a bowling all-rounder. And in first-class cricket, he has scored close to 12,000 runs, and he has scored 2,300s in first-class cricket as well. And he has taken 945 wickets in first-class cricket. And he has 56 5 wicket hauls and around 19 10 wicket hauls as well in first class cricket. So he took almost 1,000 first class wickets. He was actually once described as the most influential cricket player and cricket personality after the Second World War. And he was also once described as, together with Sir Don Bradman, or possibly after Sir Don Bradman, he was the greatest and most influential test cricket player, as a test cricket personality, and as a player, as an author, as an organizer, as a critic, and also as a student of the game and an advisor of the game. So he did hold a lot of positions in cricket. He was a widely respected person in cricket. In 2017, Australia made a 50-cent coin that was in his name, Richie Benaud's name. And he was, a very good leg spinner. He was not a big spinner of the ball like Shane Warne as a leg spinner, but he did have a leg spinner, and he also had a very good googly, probably a better googly than Shane Warne. Shane Warne was not known for his googlies, but Richie Benaud had a very good googly and a top spinner as well. And later in his career, he also developed the flipper, which was a big ball in Shane Warne's armory, the ball that comes straight on and doesn't bounce. And he actually, Richie Benaud, together with Alan Davidson, the bowling all-rounder Alan Davidson of Australia, both of them actually brought Australia back to the top of world cricket in the late 1950s and early 1960s, after there was a slump in the early 1950s when Australian Test cricket wasn't at its best. So he is credited with Alan Davidson for bringing Australia back to the top of cricket in the late 1950s and early 1960s. And in 1957-98 series against South Africa, he had an amazing test series. Australia won the test series 3-0. They whitewashed South Africa. And Richie Benaud scored 329 runs in that series at an average of more than 54. And he also took 30 wickets in that series at an average of 21.93. So that was probably one of his best all-round performances in a test series, scoring the runs at more than 54 average and taking 30 wickets at an average of 21.93 and beating South Africa 3-0. And he was actually the captain of Australia from 1958 till he retired from cricket in 1964. For he was a captain for like 6 years. And he was also known as, he was actually the first captain who started hosting team meetings for the cricket team, and that was obviously followed after his legacy. So he is the one who started having team meetings, which is a very common thing these days. And he also helped Shane Warne a lot when Shane Warne grew up as a leg spinner, and he was like a mentor to Shane Warne and guided Shane Warne with his leg spin. And he was definitely one of the greatest commentators of all time, no doubt. He was in the commentary box. He was actually doing the commentary when Shane Warne bowled that ball of the century against Mike Gatting in England in the Ashes. And Richie Benaud was in a commentary, and that was a real spectacle. It was an amazing thing to hear. He was also the commentator when Dennis Lillee broke Richie Benaud's record of 248 Test wickets, Australia's record, and also when Dennis Lillee took 300 wickets. And it was a it was like a really sad thing. I mean, when Phil Hughes died, and India and Australia were playing, or it was just about to play the Test match after Phil Hughes died. There was a few minutes of silence for Phil Hughes, and there was a prayer. And Richie Benaud is the one who spoke on the mic. And was like heartbreaking to hear him. He did say a lot about Phil Hughes, and in the end, he said, "Rest in peace, son." And when you hear it from Richie Benaud, I mean, there's a lot of warmth to it. And if you are a real true cricket lover, you almost feel like your heart is broken. I really did feel that when I heard Richie Benaud say, "Rest in peace, son." He was like a big father figure to a lot of Australian cricket players, and he was like a very influential character on the game. And Richie Benaud, I mean, even after he died, I mean, there was a lot of tributes coming in for Richie Benaud. And even in Australia, even now when they play Test cricket, there's always a part of the crowd where they dress up like Richie Benaud. I mean, especially the hair. I mean, his like his grey white hair and his unique hairstyle that he had. They come in numbers, and they have a Richie Benaud fan section in the crowd, which is good to see. And I mean, obviously, watching cricket early in the 90s, late 80s, I've heard a lot of commentary of Richie Benaud. He was one of the most uh, most well-known commentators, and he had a deep insight and knowledge about the game of cricket. It was never boring when Richie Benaud was in commentary. I mean, even the match was like at a stalemate, but when Richie Benaud was in commentary, there was always action and adventure. I mean, he was like one of the best, if not one of the best commentators in cricket. And he was very deadly honest as well about his comments on the game. He called it as he saw it. I mean, probably like Jeffrey Boycott and Ian Chappell, very open and open about his opinions and never held back his words. He was also very critical about that incident where Greg Chappell asked Trevor Chappell to bowl underarm in that finals against New Zealand, and he is one of the people who openly criticized that. So Richie Benaud was never someone who kept his words back. And as a leg spinner, he was like a real phenomenon in the 1950s. I mean, obviously everyone knows Shane Warne as a leg spinner who really revitalized leg spin bowling in the 90s and 2000s. Before that, Abdul Qadir of Pakistan was a great Pakistani leg spinner. But before all that, I mean, Richie Benaud in the 1950s and 60s was already someone who made leg spin a great art in the game of cricket. So cricket owes a lot to Richie Benaud's contribution to the game as a leg spinner, as an all-rounder, hard-hitting lower order batsman, as a captain, as a commentator, as an author, as an organizer, and also as an advisor to the game. And also he was an amazing student of the game and was always willing to learn new things about the game. And for also bringing Australia back to the top of cricket in the late 1950s and early 1960s, after Australia were having a real slump in the early 1950s in Test cricket. So that is my video on Richie Benaud. And his father was also a leg spinner, and his father was really well known. He actually took all 20 wickets in a match, in a district cricket match in Sydney. So his father was famous, and his father is the one who actually taught him a leg spin. And he learned the leg spin, the googly, the top spinner, and then later, as I said, in his career, he also developed the flipper in his armory. So that is my video for Richie Benaud, one of the greatest legends of Australian cricket and one of the greatest influential characters, test personalities in cricket the game has ever seen, and someone who contributed a lot to cricket in many ways, more than as a player, as a captain, in a lot of ways, and who is also very widely respected among the cricket world. Hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'm sure a lot of people will have fond memories of Richie Benaud, especially as a commentator. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining in, and God bless you.